have in the studio veteran journalist GODWIN ETAKIBUEBU, who joins us now in the studio for more analysis of the 2020 Ondo governorship election. And of course, we also have Victor OKHAI, a public affairs analyst, who will be contributing his thoughts on this. But I'm going to start with the guru, as is known in the media world. Okay, GODWIN, you've heard speakers, they've analyzed their thoughts on this Ondo poll so far. So what are your major takeaways, as it were?
Okay, let me speak of my major input against my major takeaways.
All right. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Let me come with the good news first.
Okay.
The good news from Ondo today is that three of the measures, they are lawyers.
Yeah. 2 senior advocates, and then the last one, a lawyer. Yeah.
Another good news is that the three of the measures, they are from 3 different senatorial districts.
Yeah.
Another good news there is that Ondo happened to be a place that the angels have been coming down to administer affairs. I'm talking of Agent Michael. Ondo State was created in 1976. Ondo State had gotten, including the ETAKIBUEBU, 18 either governors or administrators, whatever you want to call them. The first person to administer Ondo State when it was created was ETAKIBUEBU as a governor. Then, the first democratically elected governor into that state is or let me call him Michael Adekule Ajase, governor 1979 to 10. Now, if you remove Pa Ajase, I always call him Pa, because when he was alive, I call him Pa, very elderly person. You will have the man that followed him immediately was another Michael, Bamidele Otiku, governor. He attended Christ College at Adekiti. Then immediately, Michael OKHAI Ahibe.
Oh, that's the reference to the Michael Angel.
This is why the angels are always coming to Ondo.
Okay, that's the
of
reference.
All the 18, we have 5 Michaels.
What a coincidence.
Bamidele Mluwa, Mike Tory was there.
Okay.
So these are the good news. Now, what will affect the result, what will dictate what will happen today, there are very, very many factors. I've heard people speaking about Ajayi. Yes, I want to say this, that the office of the deputy governor and the office of the vice president, they are creation of our constitution. But sadly enough, the constitution refused to assign a portfolio, particularly responsibility, constitutional responsibility to any of these two. At the vice presidential level, at the national, the Economic Council is what it says. But read the constitution, subject to approval of the president. It may be for this reason that President Olusegun Obasanjo once told his vice president, Atiku Abubakar, that, Turaki, take it easy. Don't forget, you are a spare tire in this vehicle. So having said that, we have the factor of Akeredolu, who had always been there. Gegede also is not a stranger. Yeah. In 2016, Akeredolu won about 16 or 17 of the local governments. Gegede won not as much as that. Of course, Agboola Ajayi, who was then the deputy, I think he's still the deputy.
Yes. He's still the deputy.
Helped much for Akeredolu to achieve that fine goal area. That help will not be there now. But of how much consequence would it be onto the ETAKIBUEBU? That's what somebody has just explained it here now. All right. Then another factor is Mimiko, the Iroko himself, Igilani, the Iroko himself.
The only governor who had 2 terms.
And I'm telling you, the reason is that he dared Olusegun Obasanjo. When he was to contest other PDP, and Obasanjo even abused the father and the mother, and he left. Meaning, he was a self-made man. The Ondo people, where he came from, they said, this is terrible. And they stood for him. He won, and he retained it. He's the one who formed the ZLP, what?
Yeah,
Yes,
Zenith Labour
Party.
Party.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then he has brought Ajayi to it. It doesn't really matter either Ajayi has just come there 2.5 hours ago. The factor of Mimiko will help. But would it help to the extent of establishing Ajayi as the king takeaway?
Okay, Mr. Godwin, please hold your thoughts. We have a RISE correspondent who is on ground in Ondo State to give us updates. Tokunbo Taiwo, what do you have for us now?
Well, things are beginning to wind down here in this part of Owo. The place is called Isaikpen, and things are winding down here. Earlier on when we came, there was a long queue, but now that queue has reduced quite a bit. There are only about 10 or 15, let me just take a quick look, like about 10 people that are at the moment waiting to vote. The other line is completely vanished, and there's no one casting their votes there. But we do have a number of people that we want to talk to. And first up, we have a lady coming on to tell us, her own experience. Tell us your name and what you do.
Okay, I'm Oluwaseun. I'm a student.
Okay, tell us, you've cast your vote. Tell us your experience.
Everywhere is free. No fights, nothing. Everywhere is peaceful.
How did you find the experience in terms of, having to do the accreditation and then a thermometer check?
Everything is okay. Very smooth.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. So we have some other people as well. This time we're going to hear from a gentleman to hear and gauge his thoughts regarding the election here at this part of Owo. Tell us your name, sir, and what you do for a living.
Good afternoon, Nigeria. My name is Adiyeri Ayodele. We've been here to cast our vote, and this is a democratic government, and we are happy to exercise our franchise. So we are glad that we are here to vote for the man of our choice.
Tell us about this particular ward. Have you seen anything untoward? Have you seen anything peaceful? What have you seen?
Yeah, we are happy. The voting exercise went very peaceful. There was no rancor. There was no misunderstanding, and as a result of that, so people came out in mass to cast their votes, and with full confidence, they were happy. And I think we are improving in Nigeria, celebrating our 60th birthday. I think this is very, very, very encouraging, and I know we will soon get to where we're going, by God's grace.
All right, then, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, we still have one more person coming on to tell us how they feel about the elections taking place here in Owo. We have a gentleman coming along, and he's going to tell us, please, your name and what you do for a living.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Yodemaja.
Okay, and what's your assessment regarding this particular polling unit?
As you can see, you can just see that everything is moving fine. And the election is free and fair, so there's no problem. So everything is moving on fine.
What can you say about INEC in terms of how they've handled this particular award? What can you say about them in terms of the job that they did? Are you pleased with their work, or are you dissatisfied?
Oh, thank you very much. Of course, yes, the INEC, they are doing a very good job. As you can see, all of them, they are doing fine, and there's no problem. So they are doing great.
All right, then. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, so there you have it. We've spoken to people that have cast their votes. As I said, it's winding down at the moment. In a little while, this place is, I don't think we're going to stay here till 2:30, which is the official time for the elections to close, because most of the voters have completely voted earlier on. And I think it's just one or two more people that are voting at the moment. Back to you, Fadi Ani.
All right, Tokunbo, I'd like to thank you very much for the update. Hopefully we'll get more from you as the election progresses. And we still have Godwin ETAKIBUEBU still with us in the studio. And of course, Victor is still hanging on. We're going to get more details from him. But you were making a point earlier regarding the elections as well.
Yes, sir. I gave the good news. I spoke about angels coming to Ondo to Tabernacle. And I was telling you the factor that could make or deduct.
All right.
I spoke about the ownership of that party. Mimiko.
Right.
Mimiko. The fact of Mimiko should not be underrated. Hence, I went into a little historical background to show the type of person he is. So Agbola Ajayi has tabernacle there. The fact either he had time to spend with the electorate or not, that factor would decide. But the point I was before the reporter came on was that whatever advantages of Mimiko over the party that will be packed in on Agbola Ajayi today might not necessarily make him a governor. Okay. Because it will be too diminishing. But it will have consequential effect on the final takeaway of votes between Jegede and Akeredolu. So he might turn up to be the greatest spoiler that we'll be having.
Yeah, I remember
ipso facto,
Osun State as well.
Ipso facto, for that reason, I don't know how they can reach out to him now. Because, and don't forget.
Reach out to him for what?
No, okay, for what you probably be thinking of. But let me put it this way. Don't forget that in order to put this in perspective, they made a journey to Abeokuta to meet Papa Olusegun Obasanjo, to call Mimiko, to talk to Mimiko. So Mimiko could collapse that
ZLP.
But how far it went, the man is on the race today. So he might not become a governor, but he might be the hidden bride that will decide where the vote will go. That's number one. Then number two, the wife of Akeredolu is another factor to decide things. Okay. The wife, as you know, Chinyere. Chinyere is from Igbo land. And along the line, too many, if you know Owo, the way I know Owo, too many people have been talking against Chinyere. That Akeredolu pushed her too high, including some of his children. There was a time he even boasted that if I give my son this, what is the problem there? So that is a factor. At the same time, Chinyere factor would influence some, as Chinyere factor will influence of votes of the Igbo community to Akeredolu. It has the potential also of removing much from Akeredolu, which means the battle relay is going to be between. Then again, another factor. I've given you two. All right. The third factor I will give is the refund of states that invested money to do federal road and Kwanko. The refund now is coming. The refund came from the presidency now, a few hours or a few minutes to election in Ondo. 7 billion is not a joke of money. 7 billion could do much. Because Akeredolu has got 7 billion now. And don't forget, it's a pattern. When Osun was to go into election of governorship, the federal government released what Osun spent. When Kogi was to go into election, the federal government released 12 billion. So, and these are parties that are identifiable with the federal government. That 7 billion will have a long way to go because 7 billion can influence. I'm not saying buying because I've been hearing the language of buying now. It can influence votes. So these are totality of what there might be others, and I will not be able to bring all that. Then, of course, the security agencies. Okay, today now they are deploying about 31,000. Though they deployed 30,000, or should they deploy 40,000? So it is that one. Then the ZPAD of INEC, which they deploy first of all in that local government area in Nazarawa, before it came to Edo. The ZPAD will have a lot to do. But like I said, somebody said here, the enthusiasm of the people to say enough is enough, or what you will call in a lorry the otoge politics, is another factor there. Let me not be running the mill like that. Somebody said
exactly.
I will come back again.
Yes, you will. But what I pick from there is that you have accused Akeredolu of nepotism.
I did not. I merely told you.
You insinuated.
No, I did not. There was nothing like insinuation. I'm telling you that his wife, this is the name of the wife. Okay. Is that nepotism? No, okay. They are one. Okay. I am telling you that in Owo, this is the feeling of some people. Did I tell you that they accuse him of nepotism? No. So you spoke into my mind, which I did not say.
Okay. All right, then let's bring in Victor OKHAI. Victor, good to have you join us. Let's look at, you've heard everything that the guru himself has said concerning zoning, how Ajayi's entrance into this game might just tilt and kind of be the spoiler of this election. So I want to ask you, what impact will zoning play in this election?
Well, zoning will definitely have an impact in this election. For starters, you know that there are people who have an interest in Akeredolu coming back, just so that their own chances are brightened at the next election. People like Olushola Oke and Kekemeke from the South. Incidentally, of all the governors in the state, the South has produced a list, and they are looking at it as their turn the next time around. And so it is in their enlightened self-interest to ensure that they secure their own territory for him, so that he wins, so that going by the zoning patterns, it will be easier for them to come on board the next time. So you cannot rule away the influence of zoning. And like the Guru said earlier on, the interesting thing about this election is that you have the three candidates coming from the three political zones, which makes it very, very interesting. It's going to make it a very tight race because each would want to secure its own zone. You cannot rule out the factor of every zone wanting to entrench itself, and support its own candidate. If it was not that widespread, it probably would be a little easier. But like about Nigerian politics, this is our son. We need to back him. That factor cannot be ruled out. But in spite of that, we know, for instance, that Ajayi is from the southern senatorial zone, but there are people to checkmate him there. What's it now? The PDP candidate is from the central zone.
Jegede.
Yes, Jegede is from the central zone, but you have the Mimiko is also from the central zone.
Yeah.
So to checkmate him there. The only person that has it a little easy right now is the governor, who is from the northern zone, and they probably did not factor in. If you look at even vice president, deputy governorship candidates have been picked from some of these other zones by the other, by himself, but in his own territory, he's home and dry, So we cannot rule out the influence of zoning in this particular election.
And indeed, Victor, now,
yes.
Lesser-known parties like the ZLP
yes.
and, of course, the ADC may have rekindled political consciousness on the minds of people in regional politics. Now, should parties who don't make much impact at the national level perhaps focus on regional and state politics and grassroots democracy, you think? We know of some political parties we've never even heard of in the United States. They made inroads into the mayoral on county level, at state level as well. So what do you make of that possibility?
Well, in strategy, you talk about competitive advantage, okay? And you can draw the same to apply in politics as well. You would notice that APGA has continually maintained a competitive advantage in its area of strength, which is Anambra State. They have the governorship from there, even though predominantly it's a PDP state at other levels like the presidential election and the rest. But so you go to an area where you have competitive advantage, which is what ZLP is doing as well. A few other SDP as well also has a stronghold in Ondo as well. So you can look at you can take advantage of either the chieftain or certain other factors, and some of these will have to bear. So it's a good way to start for any party. You look for an area of strength. You don't spread yourself too thin. You look for where you have competitive advantage and exploit it to the maximum, and then from there you can build and then expand.
And so, Victor, I'll ask you again. Will there be any surprises with today's election?
I know the election is going to be rather close to call. In terms of surprises might come not in the overall result, but perhaps in some of the polling areas, some of other polling booths or so, because areas where there are strongholds, there could also be factors that could work against certain candidates. I know, for instance, that Ajayi, who is from the south, unfortunately was a bit insensitive in dealing with the Ijaw people and telling them that he could do without their votes and all of that. And when you tell the people like that, they might just work against you, and little factors like that, could crop up. But in terms of the overall results, it's going to be a straight fight between the two major candidates. The third force, what the third force will be doing is just acting as a spoiler, not necessarily emerging as, that would be the surprise if he were to emerge a winner. I don't see that happening, certainly not at this stage. It's too late for such an upset or disruption to take place.
Victor, I'd like to take you back on this issue. How viable, realistically, are opposition political parties in Nigeria beyond PDP? They're existent worth the effort.
What was the last phrase you said?
Yeah, are their existence worth the effort?
I would say yes, and I'll tell you why. Because it gives people an option. In this era of Babasokpe politics, where people just act as demigods and decide people's fate, and decide who runs and who doesn't run, either because of godfatherism and all that, you need alternative platforms. And so they have to exist for that purpose, apart from the fact that the judiciary has made pronouncements in that regard, which makes it, with freedom of association, you can join any party, you cannot stop people from coming together to form a party. So the issue of effort is not anybody's business. I think they have a role to play. And so what I would say is, because you see, if you look at what is happening in the country, like with the NSAS, it just tells you that there comes a time when people just get fed up with the status quo. And so they now look for a real alternative, if you like, thought force or an alternative. And where that happens, and then the entrenched godfathers in those other parties, and where there's an alternative, believe me, you'll find things just swinging. It's going to, if it hasn't happened yet, it's bound to happen. We saw it happen in Ondo. Labour Party from nowhere, but the candidate was a factor. And you saw a disruption, because the people were fed up. The Ondo people, in a way, are like the Edo people, maybe because they are contiguous as well in terms of their geographical, but they have similar mannerisms. Although there's something I just wanted to drop this in quickly, something I'm yet to see. What made Edo a bit different was the fact that money politics, yes, it may have played a factor, but Edo people, in some cases, they collected money and voted their conscience. In other cases, they rejected money outright. And so, coming back to the main point here, these parties exist. A time is come where we will have to be looking at ideological leanings and considerations. Where you find them in other countries, you find like you have the Green Party. We're not very strong on ideology here yet, but a time will come when people will have to stand for something, and they will need a voice. And that voice would have to be an individual in a smaller party, or it would have to be a party that represents that voice of the people. Labour could have been a party like that. Unfortunately, it was just another platform. It doesn't represent what it's supposed to represent.
Okay, let me speak with GODWIN now. Akure South is the most densely populated council in Ondo State. It is also the stronghold of the PDP candidate, you know that. But it is also where the ZLP has inroads. So what are your projections?
I said it here about 3 weeks ago, that in the classroom of politics, angels are never students. We are talking about politicians now, a bit, the Nigeria politician.
Yes.
The impact of the Zenith Labour Party will go as much as the man who formed it, the owner of the party, would want it to reach. The compromises that had been reached behind those ungodly hours of the night, they are not available at the domain of the public for us to analyze. So you might therefore be seeing a situation that, oh, the influence is really there, yet the predator who is to prosecute that influence has touched another button. This is very, very crucial in politics. That's number one. I don't know if I've answered your question. Another thing that we should take into this Ondo consideration is that I mentioned about 4 factors that we decide.
Yes.
I did not mention about the factor of the Kubesi. It is in existence.
Yes. You can't take that away.
We should not rule it out. It is in existence. And the equipments at the hands of the Ikubet, they are so enormous. Depending the God-given heart with which you praise them, you could turn them here or turn them there. When somebody mentioned that the president said he called the Inspector General of Police and told the Inspector General, do it properly, I believe in it. Because while Obiano was going for his re-election in Anambra State, the then Inspector General of Police withdrew all his security. He said, according to his own philosophy, let every person go play the
field.
It was there that the president called the Inspector General of Police and said, this is a city governor. Why would you do that? You can see how much peace. Because at the outset of that, probably Obiano would have been on the other side, like Ngigi now. So that factor remains with Kubesi. Then Ondo State border about 4 other states. Kogi State in the northeast, Edo in the east, Delta in the southwest, Ogun in the southwest, and Osun in the northwest. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 states. So there could be porosity of movement because it does not really take time for politicians to metamorphose from this end to that end. And except for the ZPAD, even the ZPAD will conclude the work when the election would have been, votes would have been thrown in the box.
PVC should also, so they should also act because you can't come in from any of the states you have mentioned and your PVC doesn't indicate that you're not an Ondo indigene.
My sister.
Yes.
I'm speaking as a Nigerian.
Okay.
And I'm speaking as somebody who had seen election.
Okay.
I spent, by the grace of God, I spent quite a good number of years in this land. The PVC were there when everything was bastardized. What made the difference in Ondo is that there was determination. One, the Oba went out.
You mean Edo?
Sorry, Edo. The Oba went out. Then it isn't as much of the PVC per se, but what were deployed differently by INEC. Probably in obedience to a voice, the silent voice from somewhere that let it be done. So I'm still narrating the porosity.
Okay.
Because if the votes will come in, the PVC will work. We've had this country, Kano election. We saw underage voting. But is INEC in a position to arrest it? No. Because these are criminality perfected before actualization of the day. So if the ZPAD will work well and it works faithfully, it will help. But at the end of the day, like as I said earlier, I'm seeing a very golden role to be played by the candidate of the Zenith Labour Party. That is Agbola Ajayi. He's going to play a very, very golden role. That is the role of a spoiler. His vote will come. My brother had just mentioned, I didn't want to mention that statement to the Jaw community. The Jaw community is too resilient in Nigeria politics. They are like the Kanuris. Ijaw in the river. These are people God created on the ocean. So they have peculiarity that makes them to survive more than anything. Just like the Kaluris. That is why the Kaluris is a very reserved man. He will not say a word because they want to conserve his energy. So at the end of the day, it is going to be a clear battle between PDP and APC. But how far will it be? Tegede the other day could not pick much than one local government. Can that turn around 100% now? It's a question we must look into.
Okay.
And Akeredolu had been able to reconcile every forces that would have gone against him. The good thing, he started from Lagos here.
Yeah.
He started from Lagos here. He reconciled, and all of this, okay, you are blessed, go now. And I think that was a genuine blessing. But we didn't make him to go outrightly.
He didn't reconcile with Ajayi, though. He didn't reconcile with Ajayi, though.
Try to decode my words. Okay. I said the reconciliation started from Lagos.
Okay.
Ajayi is never a Lagos person. Okay. So now, it might not be able to give him the outright win entirely. But then, what Ajayi will do or what he will not do, we decide it. Like what Oshu the other day, this man from Ile-Ife, the former deputy governor in those days at Oshu, what he did when they had to go for a run, all he did was that, okay, both parties visited him. So, but today, it may swing one way, but not with too much of what will be expected in the terms of votes. Again, Ondo is prime for litigations. Whoever wins, litigation will follow. And this will be genuine litigation. They are not going to be like Edo. Let me rest my case first.
All right, interesting perspective there. Victor, this is for you. Is an enlightened electorate enough to overcome godfatherism in Nigeria? Have we reached a semblance of that stage yet?
We're beginning to get there. We may not have gotten there yet because of the factor of money politics in Nigeria. Money is still a huge factor, and money is in Nigeria is said to be a very rich country, but the spread of money is not the way it should be, which means that there's almost no middle class. You're either very rich or you're very poor, and then with a sprinkling in between. And so if you want to contest elections, you need to be able to have good money, and that's where the factor of godfatherism comes in. There are people who have entrenched themselves so much in the parties that they decide who runs and who doesn't run. They decide where things go. As they say, they are the people that run things. So we haven't gotten quite to that stage, but there's a lot of awareness right now, a lot of resistance, which is why, and the young people are beginning to come in now. The last time I was talking about the power of hashtag, and the hashtag is going to begin to play a big factor going forward. We haven't seen it in Ondo, but it worked in Kwara, hashtag Otoge. It worked in Edo, hashtag Edo Nobi Lagos. It worked in what is going on right now, the NSAS. And so when young people begin to take an interest, then they can upset the run of things, which means that even the godfather factors, when the young people take an active interest, may no longer be right, may no longer hold sway. But for that to happen, then you have to touch the nerve of the young people in the country. Anything that will affect them, if you touch it, then they will rise up as one. And then you begin to see that godfatherism will no longer be a factor.
All right, let me ask Godwin again. You know, just before we went to Victor, you said Jegede wasn't able to win enough votes in enough local government areas in the last election. So let's look at Akeredolu's achievements now. What can win him this new election? His achievements so far: road construction, creation of industrial park, renovation and building of schools, raising internally generated revenue. Will those give him a second term?
It's most likely.
Okay.
Most likely, but subject to other interpretations. And unfortunately, these are Nigerian interpretations within the political marketplace. What some people will call achievement, some will say at what cost. And if those who ask the question at what cost are able to put their mathematical solution on the table for all to see, then what ought to be applauded will be derided. Well, others will see it. For example, you travel, you get to Ore, then you see this flyover. Fantastic. Oh, this had not been here. Who did this? So the band is working. Then if you go down to the Ondo, where he promised a port, and they have to release everything, and that is a port that is most likely, I'm saying this because of my experience in the maritime world.
Okay.
I'm deep in the maritime world by the grace of God. And this is a port that may not likely metamorphose in the next 20 years if things are taken at the same time. So there are two different things. Of course, what is it that's supposed to have attached a politician to the heart of the people? It is achievement. It is what you do for the people. You know, it is only in Nigeria that a governor will construct a road, maybe about 3/4 of 1 kilometer of a road. And he will commission it. On the day of commissioning, about 6 newspapers will have a full-page advert, millions. Arise will pick a 1 hour advertising it. Channel will pick. All this will pick. To publicize a less than a quarter of a kilometer of a road constructed. Well, what was he elected to do before? Is he not to do all these things? Mm-hmm. So, like as my brother said, all these things are coming to have some reality of interpretation in the Nigerian marketplace now. But as long as poverty is as prevalent as it is in the land, then money will be dictating the policy. Let me quickly add this. Most of all these political parties, the other day, INEC had to deregister some. Yeah. Who are the owners? They are the money bags. They are the money bags that are playing prominent role in the most major political parties. I give you an example. When Okorocha in Imo, his in-law was not supposed to be accepted by the party he belonged to. What did he do? He just went into his box, he brought one of those political parties he registered, he dusted it, removed it,
and put his son-in-law's name.
In Abeokuta, Ogun State, the former governor, the same thing he did when the candidate he brought had said that one had more interaction with the president, because 2 times he took that his candidate to the president and the president welcomed him. So all he did was to bring one of. So all of them, they have this political party. And what is the reason of this mushroom political parties? It is to be able to control the certain one, because they have investment there. If a man should invest as much as billion in the place, you want to tell me that you should not have a say? So and it is for the same reason. Thank God, godfatherism is coming down now. Because the problem of godfatherism and co is that sometimes the demand of the godfather is too much of the godson. And sometimes the treason, the economic treasonable tendency of the godson is too much destroy. Saraki, Oloye, I'm talking of father. He put about 3 people. I remember there was a time that Tunde Diagbo, Brigadier General Tunde Diagbo, visited him, and I was in that authority that I followed as a journalist. And they was not telling him that it is enough, I will not be bringing others in, because at the end of the day, they don't do anything for me. So we are moving. And the most important data to take us from the wood is our electoral procedures. They should be totally modernized. Yeah. Once you remove them from the field of analog and bring every of them to the field of digitalization, it is not that it will remove, but then it would have helped much that we will now go out of the. But as long as we interwoven some analog ideas with the digitalization idea, then we have a woman that is pregnant, move in there, deliver ballot boxes and ballot papers, and go away. So if we keep this on, and that's the good news, that at least INEC had made some recommendation, which I am aware that they are now in the National Assembly. And if the executive bring their own and they approve, we shall be better off, because the Z part played, and the Z part is just a minute of many things to bring progression to the process of electioneering in Nigeria.
All right, Godwin. Earlier on, you and others tilted towards the possibility of a keenly contested elections, and that there might be a decider, a third party here, probably in the likes of Abuela Ajayi. But what if we have a scenario where there's a clear winner here, and wouldn't the permutations all change?
In politics, like every other thing in life, everything is possible. And anything is possible. Please, everything and anything possible. There could be possibility that before you blink your eyes, one person has garnered all the votes. The factors that work that out might not be on your table now to analyze. So, all things being equal, there could be that. But either it is at this first round that somebody pick it, or a run off that somebody pick it. Ondo election has a lot of litigation branches that are coming up, and it may go up to Supreme Court.
So you have predicted. Victor Hai, let me come to you now. Ondo State has 18 local government areas, 3 senatorial districts. Will we see a large margin win?
It's hard to say now. In my analysis earlier on, the governor has a clear lead in the north, where he's from, the Akoko part of Ondo State. So that may give him a head start. But the majority is clearly in the central, where ETAKIBUEBU Jegede is from. So it depends on how well ETAKIBUEBU is able to mop up the votes from the area where he comes from. There's a factor we're not looking at, even though a lot of Igbo people tend to vote PDP. But the guru talked earlier on about the Chinyere factor. You cannot rule it out. It might work out in favor of the governor, because obviously, permit me to call Her Excellency Chinyere here just for the purpose of this exercise. But you can be sure that she would obviously mobilize her people. And you find a lot of them in the city, in the capital, the Akure area. So that factor might come in. But if we were to go by historical antecedents, it would be wrong to think that because ETAKIBUEBU didn't do well the last time, might not do well this time. Note, the party retained him. And this time around, if you watch the campaign, although you don't usually, you should not judge by the crowds, because a lot of them are rented and all that.
You can say that again.
But I think that this time around he's going to do a lot better than he did the last time. He's going to do quite a lot. And you cannot rule out the fact that the deputy governor the lesser devil for him would be ETAKIBUEBU Jegede, and he certainly would not do anything to help Akeredolu. And we do not know what has transpired last night. We don't know, like Guru said, we don't know I know that they failed, as it were, to reach a consensus when they were trying to talk before now. But anything can happen.
All right.
Yeah, and I also want to mention this as well. ZLP.
Victor Hai, we're going to have to ask you to hold your thoughts now.
Right,
we still have Victor Hai and Godwin ETAKIBUEBU with us in the studio. Do hold your breaths. We'll go on a quick break and be right back. To stay with us. Be back. You're watching the special coverage of Ondo elections. And before we went on break, we had Victor Ohai with us in our studios, political analyst, and in the studio, Godwin ETAKIBUEBU, the guru himself, a veteran journalist with us in the studio. And I had just asked Victor Ohai if we will see a large margin win in this election. And you were talking about how Jegede may do better this time around. You can continue now, Victor.
Yes. Jegede, if there's going to be any surprise, it might be Jegede, because, I mean, if we look at it mathematically on the table right now, everything seems to be in favor of the incumbent. And the fact that, okay, he's been able to make peace. And like I said earlier on, it is in the enlightened self-interest of people like Olushola Oke and Kekemike and the rest of them from the South to ensure that he wins, by delivering the South so that the next time around they can contest and under the zoning formula, and then they would have a better chance. But I also said that Ajayi definitely is not going to do anything to help Akeredolu. If anything, he would want to work in favor. If he can't win, he would rather the lesser devil for him, quote unquote, would be Jegede. So all of that factor might come into play, and you can't rule out the fact that of the two of them, the governor and the deputy governor, the one that is considered more of a politician is the deputy governor. Yes, he's not the incumbent, but he's a bigger politician of the two. Akeredolu at the start was more of a technocrat. Maybe he has become more of a politician, right now. So we'll have to wait and see that. I don't know what difference, what's his name now, Mimiko might make in the middle. Yes, he might be able to swing votes. I don't know how much votes he can get for Ajayi. Yes, for Ajayi, quite frankly, because I've always said this, that there are people who are not very good at local politics. What I'm about to say now may appear controversial, but that is my opinion. And Obasanjo, for instance, may not win his polling unit. He may not win the councillorship election. But at the national level, he has friends and he has people who will be able to work for him, and he'll win a presidential election any day. Yeah. And so for Mimiko, you could see that while he won election back-to-back at the governorship level with a small party, Labour Party, he could not deliver at the senatorial level. These are factors that you cannot rule out, So you may not have that influence at the micro level, but at the macro level, you might have bigger influence, So all of these factors will come to play. But if there's going to be a surprise element, that element might just be the Jegede factor. And I think that's what we should be looking out for.
All right, Godwin, beyond this election, Tosin Jegede will still be politically relevant because he's got age on his side, should he choose. What are your perspective there, you think, for the next 10 years, as it were?
Choose what?
Should he choose to become politically relevant, as it were? He's still got age on his side.
I think what he wants to become might not be dependent on our suggestion here.
Okay.
There are forces driving him.
All right.
Either to subject to those forces or to go against those.
Yeah.
And in every human endeavor, there is this supreme power that could say, no, stop there, or don't stop there. Call the power any name, but the supreme deity is there to decide it. So advising him, we can advise him, you can advise him. But then, what it will become will depend on many, many factors that outside the table, your table of advice. So I have said that. Let me quickly add this to what my brother had just said now.
Go ahead, briefly.
The Agbola factor, Ajayi, I said he's going to be he's a very pretty bride.
Just like Omishore in Oshun.
Why did you have to take it off me? Because
you couldn't remember the name then.
When I remember, I put it down. Iyola Omishore. And Iyola Omishore decided the vote.
Yeah.
Who became eventually the governor of Osun State. So at what level will he decide it now? Is it the level we are now? It's most unlikely. It might be the level that the two highest bidder are going to recruit and they go to group themselves. Then somebody will be needed and say, I will go. That I will go will matter much. And it will become the Iyola Omishore of, not of Osun, but of Ondo State.
Indeed.
Well, it's 5 minutes to 2. Elections are still ongoing because the official closing time for elections is 2:30. But we have Achike Chude, election observer, who is on ground in Ondo State. Achike, since we spoke with you last, what more can you tell us?
Well, not much. I mean, the events are still evolving, except that we have gotten some reports from the field, and we're talking about some of these minor hitches that have taken place. Okay. The reality is that in most of the polling units observed, INEC officials were prompt, like we have said, but there have been polling units and we're still, compiling lists where the card readers malfunctioned and did not work properly. So we don't know how INEC is going to, at least about 4, 5, 6 polling units that have these issues. So I think these are the significant, things, issues that have been raised. Then, of course, the conduct of the security officials have been quite civil and courteous and respectful. And I think it is good to mention that, there's always this tendency to want to vilify them and they want to kill them when things have gone wrong. But it's also critical that the few times or the times that they have done well, we should also commend them and say they have really done well. That hopefully should inspire them to do much better.
Ajike, do you think technology has been a plus for this election, and just like we had in Edo as well, despite their little hiccups every now and then?
Well, that is where we are. The reality is that we are part of a global village. So we cannot, no man is an island on his own. So we must integrate ourselves to what is going on around us globally. And technology is the in thing. Technology is what makes societies and countries tick. And there is no reason why we should not tap into some of these technological advancements when it comes to issues of election. It's going to make life easier for everybody. It's going to save the state, the Nigerian state, a lot of money that is badly needed, especially at this time where we have so much negative economic, issues. So it's good as a place. And of course, you can see that it was part of the election petition tribunal, the case that Atiku was trying to make about against the Buhari and the issue of the server and all of that. The reality is that Nigerians have been happy with the ZPAC, the uploading of election results, so that people could have access to it. And I think that is where to go, because once you're able to do that, you make it very difficult for people to begin to manipulate that process manually, because it's already there. It's already there. And a lot of people have borne witness to the results that have been uploaded. So it is good. It is the way to go. So any way we can, further enhance the use of technology for future elections, I think we should be encouraged to do that. It helps.
Well, for the second time in 3 weeks, INEC is conducting an off-cycle election in Ondo State, and the voter turnout, they said it's been on the high side. We've talked about security, and Achukechude just said that we should commend the security personnel because they have acted rather civilly in this election. Vote buying, still something to be contended with in Nigerian elections. That's where we're going to have to leave it now. The rating of INEC, the commission, went high after Edo elections. We'll see what happens after today's elections. There are 17 candidates in this election, but it's a 3-horse race, basically, and we will see how that turns out. Let's thank our guest now, Achukechude, election observer in Ondo State. Many thanks for joining us. Goodwin ETAKIBUEBU, the guru himself, veteran journalist, thank you for being here. And Victor OKHAI, political analyst, thank you so very much for joining us on Newsday.
Thank you for having me.
Well, you've been watching a special edition of Newsday with a focus on the 2020 Ondo governorship election. Special thanks to our guests, as I have mentioned. I am Fadisha Lashotingwa. Many thanks for being with us.
And of course, I'm Ni Oilo. Thanks for being there.